Welcome to A Lunch with Biggie, a podcast about small business and creatives sharing their stories and inspiring you. My guest today is an artist who started a business based on something she started as a college project and just kept doing it for fun for 5 years. Now she is the owner and the artist behind Doodles by Dooley. Please welcome Shannon Dooley. What's going on, Shannon?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing all right. So my first question, obviously, I appreciate you taking the time to have meet me during my lunch break. What's your go-to lunch or sandwich during lunchtime?
Oh, goodness. I don't know. I'm kind of a repeat eater, but I always love a good tuna sandwich. Like if I'm getting a sandwich anywhere, I get a tuna sandwich. Some people think that's gross, but
I mean, it depends on who makes the tuna. Do you like it? Do you like it like extra mayonnaise-y? When you make tuna at home or when you go eat it, out of curiosity,
I literally just put mayonnaise because I'm boring, I guess. Even when I go to chicken salad chick, I just get the classic Carol.
Okay.
I'm just pretty easy. I think it's mostly based off of convenience rather than taste, just because I'm just I don't know, I'm a mom now. So I'm just always just I just need to make something quick and then move on.
So I do need to know now this question because this is a very I'm kind of curious. When being an art teacher and eating in school, do you bring tuna sandwiches to school?
Sometimes sometimes I literally just bring tuna and crackers.
Yep.
Just because it's something I can eat while I'm working.
I know someone that does. I used to have a coworker that did the same thing, but she would do chicken salad and and crackers and just literally eat it while she was working. So I totally get it. Okay, so I teased about it in the intro, but tell folks the story about how you started Doodles by Dooley.
So in college, I was actually a graphic design student, and we had to do a campaign of our own making. And I've always been really attached to travel. So I was like, oh, it'd be really cool if I did those really old kind of classic travel posters, but put my own kind of style to it. So I'm half Cuban, so I decided to make a kind of travel poster collection based off of Cuba, and then for a fake airline traveling to Cuba, the posters that you would see kind of in the airport when you land is kind of what I was thinking of. And then I was also a photography student in school, so I always loved old film, and film was my favorite medium. But I also just loved Polaroids. I was always I was on the swim team, and I'd bring my Polaroid camera to all the trips and just take selfies with everybody. And so I kind of based it off of, if you look at one of my prints, it looks like an old Polaroid that you would hold, mixed with those old posters, and then but definitely fresher with the clean lines and kind of, you just that really cool kind of style, but I put my own twist on it. But anyway, so I started off with those posters, and they were a hit, just with people just enjoying them. And so I'm a lot, mostly with my family and family friends. They were like, oh, it'd be really cool one for all the places we've been. And so that's kind of how that started, where I was just making them for friends and family as gifts and things like that. And then that's how it started.
And then what triggered, because you said you're a mom, and and your little one's what, over 9 months old. So what
she's 10 months.
So I kind of chuckled because when I was when I read the intro, when I read your about, and then I was and when we talked and met, I was like, wow, I'm never would I have thought, hey, I'm a mom and I want to start a business too. So how did that, what was the trigger point of this is the time to do it? Because I'm not juggling some other enough things, being a full-time mom, a wife, and a new mom. So where did that thought process, what was the trigger point of hey, the time is now, I need to do this?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of it was financially backed. As a teacher, it's not a surprise, it's well known teachers don't make a lot. But on the other hand, adding a baby into the family, I felt like I was doing a lot just kind of for a year. I mean, not a year, but at least 8 months. She was born early. 8 months of just my whole brain was going into making sure she was okay. I'm also a type 1 diabetic, so I was just really just kind of so hyper focused on my health and her health. I felt like I needed to do something where unfortunately I'm a worry wart. So I was just like, I need to do something positive. And just, taking off of school for 3 months was beautiful time to be with her. And I was just like,
Yeah.
I want to do something for me that's positive. And I always, growing up went to art, and I always was just like, I'm an artist mom. And so that's something where I was just like, you know what, I want to do something for me. It'll, definitely support us financially, but it just was really fun to kind of go back into something that, open up the box again, kind of, so to speak, even though it's, me working on my laptop. Um, Being able to go back into doing that and have it like just a creative outlet, just because there's, a lot that comes with being a new mom. I was diagnosed with like postpartum depression. And so art was a really great way for me to, you know, work through that as well, just because I was able to, have an outlet.
Yeah.
So, and I was never really one to be like, oh, I'm going to go work out. Cause I was like, I'm not going to do that. I swam for 15 years, and I'm just like, now I was like, I'm done with that. I mean, I like now I go on walks with her in the afternoon, and that's
Yeah.
the extent of my, workout. And that's, another way that I definitely do go out. Not saying that working out does not work, but it just for my life, I was like,
Yeah.
art is what, made me happy. And you can tell it makes me happy just with all the bright colors. When you see like my display, it's just
Yeah.
all like these really huge bright colors, bright, like a crazy array of palette, really.
No,
um
that's really interesting, and I really appreciate your candidness on a lot of this, because like, being able to share some of that, because you're right, it is especially for when you're an artist. Like, I guess I could only imagine, like, I don't consider myself an artist obviously at all, but I'm a creative, and I do know that for me that is an outlet where it's like a safe space, for me to be
mhm,
able to come up with ideas and just kind of live in that
right.
creativity. So I definitely appreciate you sharing that. And yeah, I could only imagine, like, that was like the big thing for me, where I was like, man, I'm like, um I was kind of curious as well about the aspect of, so you had mentioned that some of your friends, you've done it for some of your, like, if they've traveled, is it something that all the designs that you've done, or is it places that you've been to, or places that other people have been to and they've shown like pictures and things like that, and that's kind of what inspired it? What's the inspiration when you create new ones, new locations and new things and new
Mhm.
prints?
Yeah, so I mean, it started with a place that, I've actually never been to. Cuba is a place I've never been, but, is somewhere I've always wanted to go. So it was really fun for me to research and just kind of see, the buildings with the bright colors, and seeing those, like, kind of time travel, seeing all those like really cool cars, and just somewhere that I would love to go, somewhere where I, am very connected to through my family, but never really been. And I've heard stories growing up and things like that. And then so it kind of continued with places that, because I was making posters for family, places we've been together. So Barcelona was one of my next ones that I did, was where I had been there with my family. I think I went when I was like 11 years old, but it was just a trip that I remembered that, that we went to together. And it was just a really important trip. I mean, my family, we love to travel together. We love doing things together. And to the point where now that my daughter's born, my parents are like, all right, we're not doing Christmas presents anymore. We're just going to do trips. We're just going to like have those memories together. And so, yeah, I mean, travel's always been super important. And so it's a big mixture, I guess, of places I've been. It started off with, once I started making those Cuban ones, like, oh, this would be really cool to like have posters in my house of places that I've been, just as like a stamp. I'm a super nostalgic person, hence
Yeah.
the photography degree. And just, now with this like travel stuff, it's really cool to kind of take a snapshot of a memory. I went to LA with my brother a few years ago. I mean, no, it's probably not a few years ago now, like 5, 6 years ago now. And it was like a trip he had gotten for like a Christmas present or something. And he chose to have me go with him, which was really awesome. And so I put some like, I made a poster right after we got back. Like, it was just something where I was like, I need to like basically take like a mental snapshot of our whole trip. And so like I did like, I put like a picture of like the Hollywood Bowl on there. I did like where we walked from the Griffith Observatory all the way to the Hollywood sign. And like, so I literally put like the hills and drew the Griffith Observatory in like a winding path that went all the way to the Hollywood sign. Cause it's really what it is. It's literally just like this, like making these constant U-bends through the hills. And then we went to the Hollywood Bowl right after that. And we didn't know, but they were doing a like practice run of the actual Broadway show for Annie. And so we got to like sit in and see like the performers do Annie. So on the Hollywood Bowl, I put the Annie like stage setup and stuff. So it was like really cool way for me to kind of just remember everything. And then now every time I see it, I see a memory.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I'm at now. And even like I make them for, wedding gifts of like just recently, a couple of my friends who got married. They both went to University of Florida. So they don't know yet, but if they listen to this, they will. But I'm giving them a huge Gainesville poster when they get back from their honeymoon to have in their house just as like a memory. So yeah,
No,
I kind of rambled on there,
no,
but I mean, it's definitely a mixture.
I absolutely love it because and that was why I was intrigued by how you come up with it, because I know that like I had Jelly Press on, and when they do a lot of things, they'll do like she'll snap a lot of photos and then use that and kind of based on how she sees it and what she sees, and then between the photos and her own mental notes of like what she sees, that's how she comes up with it. So it's kind of like really cool how your like your creative process of what goes in where and what. I mean, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot easier when it's your experience, because you can kind of, it's kind of how you're being
Right.
able to like you're seeing it. So which I
Right.
think is really really cool that
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how you've done it. And I also think it's great because you've also been able to you've been very strategic on the aspect of when you go to certain places, like selling at certain cities. You've also been very strategic to make sure to include some of the cities that you're selling at,
Right.
to be able to include, because obviously there's definitely a lot of local pride in the cities that
Mm-hmm.
people live in. So which I think is
I
very
know
very
whenever anyone
smart of you.
comes up, like they'll walk by my display. It's like, is it all Florida? And I'm like, no, I live here, and a lot of it's Orlando based stuff now, just because when I started this business and I was like, I'm going to do these markets, and got into the community. I mean, a lot of it was going to be in like my first market was in Mills 50/Ivanhoe area. And so my first two Orlando posters, other than like my Disney Castle Orlando one, was Ivanhoe Village and Mills 50. And so those neighborhood posters, like everyone loves a certain neighborhood, like Milk District one is super popular. You and I were talking about the Milk District poster just because
Yep.
it's like such a cool area, and a lot of people just really connect with it because I don't know, it's interesting. I mean, I have like cows roaming the streets. Obviously there's not cows roaming the streets in Milk
Yeah.
District, but it gives it that you know little bits of character.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
It's
just
also
I
your
have.
spin on it.
Right. Yeah. Even like and I have like a huge milk jug on that. And even it's my brother-in-law's girlfriend is one who gave me the idea of that. She goes, can you put like a huge milk jug on this? And I was like, that's genius. I love that. And then so like being able to work with people on this really does like kind of help, because even like the Tampa poster I made, they have Gasparilla, and the person that I was working with to make that, she was like, obviously you have the pirate ship coming off the Buccaneer Stadium, but could you put one on the bay? And I was like, yes, that's genius. Like I love that. And
Yeah.
just like, adding I always love, working with people because it's super fun to see how, they see their place, even if it's not somewhere I'm super familiar with. Like, I've been to Tampa, but I don't see it the way that others do.
Yeah.
So making it special and really kind of having the community help me is awesome, just because if I've never been anywhere, but it's somewhere that people really want, like Tampa. Like I was asked for Tampa forever, but I was like, I don't even know what to do. And then they were like, put Armature Works in there, definitely do that. And I'm like, oh, okay, I got this, and so that really just is really fun part for me when I'm making these posters, is working with other people. And even when I'm making stuff that I do know very well, I'll still send it to my little art department, which is basically my family group chat, and I'm just like, does this look good? And they're just like, that's awesome, oh, you should totally add this place. And I'm like, great, that's an awesome idea. And then being able to bounce off ideas with people is really fun.
No,
So
I
went off
totally
a tangent too.
no. You don't apologize. It's all great information, and that's kind of what leads to a lot of other questions. So like I love the fact that that you're providing and getting that information. I mean, I've had other guests
Mhm.
talk about the same thing about how the importance of having their own like online community to take a part in
Mhm.
doing those things, and kind of like, and it's a great open-ended question of asking like, hey, when you think of this place, what do you think of, and it's just kind of a great conversation starter, and also a great way to kind of provide and get input for
Mhm.
locations and things like that, which I think is awesome. I saw that you become very I always say, I like saying the word strategic, in the sense that also the fact that you realized, hey, my prints, I can do my prints in all different sizes. I can do them as stickers, I can do them as shirts, I can do them as tote bags, which is great because you're kind of like repurposing your design in so many different ways.
Mhm.
And some of that stuff I know that you do in house, correct?
Right. Yeah. So t-shirts, I've actually, there are only two in existence. I was at Goodwill like a few weeks ago, or I don't know, months ago now. And I was just like, I'm gonna try to like press on t-shirts, because tote bags was something that I always wanted to do. Just because I like using them. I mean, you'll see a teacher, they're like a little pack mule. They have like tons of bags with,
Oh yeah.
all their lesson planning planners and books and all of that. So definitely something that I wanted to do. And now t-shirts is something, now I'm like, okay, that's on the horizon. That's something that I can see I can do. And so me and my husband both have a spooky season t-shirt that was like a tester. And so it's definitely possible. But yeah, I literally am looking at it now. There's just a huge mess in the front of my house. Um, but it's, where all the ideas come together. Stickers I learned how to make myself. And I'm, playing with that process, and, trial and error with different sticker papers and things, just because, you and I, but like we've talked about this before, like if an idea strikes, I want to be able to make it right there,
Yeah.
like I want to be able to like okay, I'm going to see if this works, or I want to like see how many I need. And there's a lot of input that comes in when I'm at markets, where people are like, oh, I would really love a tote bag. If a ton of people are asking for tote bag for a certain print, I'm like, oh, I can have that ready for the next week then, instead of
Yeah.
sitting around being like, well, I gotta wait a month. With like stickers, I feel like that's one of the things, like people are asking for stickers and it takes a couple weeks for them to come in, and I miss, opportunities, I feel like. But on the other hand, that's also me being pretty impatient. I'm kind of impatient as well. So that's, you know, I don't know, par for the course really as an art teacher, just kind of scatterbrained.
Just out of curiosity, how has having Doodles by Dooley helped, or maybe shown some of your students, like has it crossed over into your teaching, in the sense of like showing, like, hey, this is what you can do and create, and things like that
Mhm.
to your students?
Yeah, so there's certain times where maybe like, I'll have my laptop out, just kind of I'm working on lessons or something, and then there's like I have a window up with different things on it, and I'll show my kids, like, because they'll come up to me with digital ideas where they're like, oh, I have an iPad at home, and I'll show them stuff that I do with my tablet or whatever it is, because most of the time, like, we don't have digital stuff at my school. Just we're not one-to-one laptops, but if I had laptops in my classroom, and I've talked to my principal about this a ton, I'm like just like, oh, I'd love to do this. And so I like I'll show my kids stuff that I do, how like digital illustrations and things, just because I have a lot of kids where like they don't know what kind of art they like, that lots of kids that come in like, I can't draw a stick figure, and I'm like, yeah, you can. And here we go. We're gonna find something that you enjoy. Like I had one student earlier this year where he came in, he's like, I've never drawn before and I don't like it. And I'm like, okay, well, let's find something you do like. And he probably sat there for the entire class, just kind of like, just being like, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. And then I was like, well, think of something you do like, and then just tell me later. And then so he sat there the whole time, didn't do anything. And then like 5 minutes before class, he was like, do you have any books about anime drawing? And I was like, I know exactly what to get you. So I like literally brought in like some books I had for him to like look at, and he was drawing like the next week, like anime stuff. Just, it wasn't what we were doing, but I was like, you're doing something. And so I have an art club on Wednesdays after school, and that's when I really kind of show my fifth graders that, because when they're going to middle school, like we have it like a magnet art school in our district, I'm like, this kind of stuff you can do. Um, and I'll show them my stuff, and they think it's cool, but they always like to just be like, oh, what if you did this? What if you did this? What if you did this? And they're like, can I do that? Can like, what app is this? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, have you ever heard of Procreate? And they all like are like, oh, I have that on my iPad. I saw it on TikTok. And I'm like, of course you did. And so they're and so that they like to share the stuff they see people do on TikTok, and so it's really more discussion based what we're talking about in
Yeah.
class, and I would love to be able to explore it more, and that's something in the future that I want to work towards. But at the moment, it's really just kind of getting my older kids especially excited about stuff, because if I mention iPads to kindergartners, they're like, oh, that's what I use Bluey on, and I'm like, oh, okay, yes, I know.
No, I can see that. And that's what I was thinking about. That I was trying to figure out. I wonder how our students react or be able to see, because I think it's, even at a young age, it's always great to be able to show that, hey, you can use your creativity to create these pieces of art. And I think that's kind of one of the fun parts. What's been one of the hardest parts of getting into doing the markets, and just kind of like that whole aspect of juggling? Like, tell me a little bit about some of that, like having to juggle everything and kind of figure out all these things while you're trying to do markets on the weekend and all that stuff.
Right. It definitely takes a village, but my husband's a firefighter, so like his schedule, he's able to be home with like our daughter and stuff. And there's a lot of support there from my family and him as well. And I enjoy sharing it with them, like, cause like I'll go, early to set up as we do. But then he'll come in, an hour later and be there with her. And it's like kind of like a little bit of like a family gathering, just kind of hanging out and in the tent and all of that, which is pretty fun for me. I mean, I'm pretty motivated by just, people coming through and, really appreciating what I do, first of all, but also, um, I love the community with it. I mean, I work with kids all week, and then being able to work with adults on the weekend's pretty fun too, just because I get to work with other creatives and see how like they think of things, and we bounce ideas off of each other, and like even I have like a text group with like a couple of my friends who sell vintage, and if I'm like at Goodwill, I'm like, I saw this really cool thing at this Goodwill, and then they'll be like, oh my god, that's so cool, and then just like I love like having that new, like it's a whole new community of friends, of support, and that kind of motivates me to keep doing it, even though it's really tiring, doing all of it. It's really fun just to kind of have that support, have that because something that I've always struggled with, and why probably it's been on and off for 5 years for me to do this is, just I struggled with like burnout often. It always is something where I was really into it, really into it, really into it, and then it just fizzles out, and then I'm like, okay, I'll pick it up again in a year, and then so I've done that a lot, but this time I haven't had that problem, which usually by now I would have been done 3-4 months ago. Like, okay, I'll pick it up again in a year, but having that community and that support and just you know drive really just, and seeing other people driven and creative and doing that really kind of helps fuel me. Um, but I mean, over the summer, I was doing a lot more markets, obviously, just because I'm not teaching. So I'm able to, do a lot more around the community. But now I do maybe like 2, 3, maybe 4, markets a month. And, that's something that I feel like I can handle. Right now, the holiday season will be my first one, and it's pretty daunting. Even like I was up late last night making like some posters for Elf. Hint, hint, everybody, how
Oh,
Elf is
really?
coming because I'm
I'm
obsessed
excited.
with Elf.
I'm
Yes,
excited.
I was
Smiling's
like,
my favorite.
yeah, I love that movie. It's like just it's a Christmas staple for me. But
Have
it's
you
just
seen
something that
have you seen the preview for Will Ferrell's newest holiday movie?
isn't he doing like Scrooge with Ryan Reynolds?
Uh-huh. It's like Spirited, I think is what
Yeah,
it's called. It's like a new take on the Christmas
yeah.
Carol. Yeah.
Ooh, fun. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Or not Scrooge. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Same idea.
yeah, yeah. Same old thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, I did see like them doing like something on TikTok all dressed up. So I was like, oh, they're doing like Christmas Carol together. And
It's
so I
good.
haven't seen any trailers or anything. So
Go see it. Go
I
check
will.
it out. They have the last one's
Is it
pretty
out?
good. No, it doesn't
Oh,
come
no, just
out.
the
It
trailer.
comes out in the theater on like the I guess in no like middle of November, and then before
Okay.
Thanksgiving it'll come out on Apple TV.
Oh, fun. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely
So
watch it.
yeah,
I love Will Ferrell. I think he's, hilarious. So
correct.
I'm that's exciting.
Well,
And Ryan Reynolds as
I
well.
definitely will be looking out for an elf print for sure for the holidays
Yes,
because um
there's four.
oh yeah.
It's a collection.
Oh, very nice. So
Oh, that's
I,
all.
I think, and that's one of the things that I think is like kind of opens up for you, right? And you and I have kind of talked about a little bit about it, how it opens up your way of being able to kind of not only just do locations and places, but also things such as that, like inspirations of things that you love,
Mhm.
either from movies or attractions or things like that. And I think that kind of opens up so many avenues for you, right? Because when it
Yeah.
comes to stuff like that, and I think that's I think that's so important. And I think, and I'm kind of curious, when you brought up the topic of burnout, do you think the fact that you're doing markets and you're able to get that positive reinforcement or positive feedback, do you think that kind of helps with some of that aspect
Yeah.
of it?
I definitely think so, just because having that positive community, it's all positivity. Like, I could be sitting there for 4 hours and make like my worst market, and just being around everyone and just, being like, oh, well, that's what happens. We're all in there together. It's not, it's one thing not getting any sales on my website, but if, because I'm physically there and I'm like seeing everybody and just having that, like I've had markets like that recently, and it was still really just an awesome experience just to be with everyone. And, I really can't say anything like more, just because it's really just that positive. Like, most of the time with just like any person just getting in your head, I would have just sat there if I was alone at that market and like not sold anything for 4 hours. Then like, yeah, my head would have been like, you're the worst. Like, how dare you sit here for 4 hours and waste your time? And
Yeah,
but no, like
the
you,
self judgment is real sometimes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, and you physically cannot do that. It's like, when like people are like, "Oh, try to say the word bubbles angry." Like you just can't do it. Like it's just, like it's impossible. So like just being there, with everyone, it's really just such a positive experience, and it's really hard to, feel that burnout when you have all these creatives just so overwhelmingly positive around you, and just being like, hey, it's just, it's another one, and I'll see you at the next one. And I'm so excited to see you and see what else you come up with. And it's like it keeps turning, and, we all just keep moving forward, and, are excited for everybody and just are wanting to support everyone. So,
What what would you give? What advice would you give for someone, especially since you're kind of, you've been doing this for a few months and stuff like that? What advice or what are some lessons you've learned along the way on trying to figure out like what markets, setting up for markets, things like that that you can you would probably be able to share with someone that's kind of, kind of like in the beginning of looking, or maybe feel that doing a market is a little bit daunting.
um, well, I kind of just did a lot of trial and error, to be honest. I think in July I did 16 markets.
Holy
With
cow. And the worst part is I cringe when you say that because all I think about is rain.
Yes, no, that was like the hardest part was rain. Like half of them I think got rained out in the middle of it. So I'm like hunkered down in my tent in a torrential downpour with products made of paper. Um and so it's definitely something where I've taken quite a few, hits, whether my frame's getting broken and just, waterlogged, just prints being, ruined. So yeah, like I mean the summer is no joke. Like it's really difficult for all of us, with just wind, rain, storms, Florida. But on the tail end of that, with the markets that didn't see, a lot of rain or any, I was able to kind of pick and choose which ones work best for me and what, audience really enjoyed my work. And how it, and even just July was my second month doing it. So I was able to really kind of hammer out any details with my setup, how to pack my car. Because that's something you don't think about. You're playing like the world's, craziest Tetris game sometimes in your car, trying to like figure out where things go and, making sure that everything fits. And when you have a problem like me, where I hold everything in these old vintage suitcases, and then at a market you have a vintage seller next to you selling suitcases, and then you take an extra one home, you're like, well, I didn't show up with this, and here I go trying to Tetris it again and figure out how everything works. Yeah, I mean, I think really it's just anyone starting out, it's going to take a lot of trial and error, just trying to, you're never going to know which markets work best for you until you do them. And so that's something where, and also sometimes it's following people that you like to be around too. So a lot of the time I'm signing up for markets where I know like my vendor friends are going to be at, and I know that we all feed off each other's vibe and we like make it a really fun environment together. Because I've also been at markets where like nobody knows anyone, and you're all just kind of sitting there under your tents like, oh, hey,
Yeah.
how's it going? How you
That,
doing? And you
that
just really,
yeah, that's always a tough one when you go to a market like that and it's something that happens that way. It's and the heart, I'll be honest with you, like the summer ones like are the like this is the time of year now, like when the fall, that fourth quarter, that's the one where I think it gets, because the weather gets nicer, people start coming out, you start kind of hitting up obviously it's the holidays, more shopping's being done. So those are some of the things that I think to me is my favorite time of the year because of that. Because that's kind of when people, I feel like, they want to be outside, because I feel like summer in Florida is like winter everywhere else. So I feel like that kind of one of those things that's very helpful
right.
when it comes to it. So yeah, I definitely can see that. Where, out of curiosity, where do you keep all your ideas that you get, or that you're like, as you come up with things or like locations and do your research, like where are you keeping all this? Like, do you have like folders or tabs of, like this location, I'm thinking of these things or these landmarks? How are you keeping tabs of all this?
So all of my stuff is on an iCloud folder. All of my prints. If I have been the person to like store everything on a hard drive and then ran in the rain with that hard drive and drop it, and I lose everything. Like literally 2 weeks before like my senior year graduation,
Oh,
I had to
wow.
turn everything. I lost all of my senior projects, and I remake all of them like in 2 weeks. It was crazy. And so, or just like kind of try to really trick it. Anyway, moving on. So I have everything on an iCloud drive, so I'm able to access like if I need to make a quick post or Canva like a ad for like a print or something, not an ad, a post for a print or something. It's at my fingertips on my phone. Just kind of everything like that. I have a mixture of a whiteboard behind my desktop that I just like, if I have an idea, like right now, like I have a side of it says next in line. This is my husband's idea, because we had a whiteboard and things like, you need to write everything down, because I have severe ADHD. So I'm like always just like, I have billions of tabs open in my
Yeah.
brain, and
Yeah.
I cannot close any of them, and I don't know where the music's coming from. And so I have like, okay, my next one, I've been asked for Puerto Rico a billion times. I need to make a Puerto Rico print. And so that's on there. Christmas is on there. I have like a note page on my phone that I'm like, if I have a quick idea, oh, I need to type that down. So like right now I'm have an idea for a Winter Wonderland print where it's just like a sleigh going through a snow globe, and like having that like, on a print. And so it's just kind of ideas whirring constantly. And if I do not write them down, I will forget
Yeah,
them.
no, that's exactly how it works. And that's why
So
I'm always
yeah,
curious where people put them and what they do with them, because
yeah. And even
um
sometimes I'll have on because I use Adobe Illustrator. So I'll just make a new project, name it what I want to make, and then have a folder for it ready in my like file, like with all my posters in it. And then I'm just like, okay, this is started. technically, and I have to make it. And so one that's like that right now is Puerto Rico, where literally it's just a tab that says Puerto Rico. It's a blank project. I haven't really started drawing anything, but it's there and I have to do it. And so like if I open Illustrator, I'm like, oh, there's the tab where it's not untitled. It is a project that is titled and it will be begun soon.
I
So
like that.
there's that.
I kind of like that idea. It's kind of like when
Yeah.
I was a kid, I used to I wanted a video game system, but I didn't have one. So what I did was I knew that the video game system only had one controller. So I bought
Mm-hmm.
an extra controller, but I didn't have a game system, but I knew that I would need it. So it's it's kind of like that
Yeah.
was my it's like your brain tricks your brain like, well, I already started it. I got a name on it. Got to do it. Oh,
It's time. Got it. I'm like master procrastinator.
yeah.
Always have been. I'm like writing papers at 2 a.m. Like like turning them in a minute before it's supposed to go and or be turned in. And so that was me always. So like if I have a deadline, I'm I've gotten a little better with it with like my business because like people are like, hey, how's my print? And I'm like, oh, here's an updated thing of how it's going. And like I'll send them like halfway. But so I got a little better with that. But any of my own personal projects, it's like they're they're over there. They will be begun as soon. And they're started ish.
So I love the idea, the fact that you have a whiteboard and you're able to do that. They do say I've done some things where I've done research where they basically say it's really good to occasionally be able to just do that brain dump, especially when your
Mm-hmm.
mind's constantly going. Because it's amazing how much stuff we have in there. I've actually in my therapy sessions, my therapist has said that we go through like 45 to 60 thoughts per minute, which usually
Mm-hmm.
can be from 60 to 80,000 thoughts in a day, which is quite a bit. So imagine
Yeah.
all the things that you worry about or think about, plus all the creative things. And then also the fact that mixed in with the fact that one of my previous guests used to had the best quote. She's like, ideas are like muses. So like they come and if you don't take advantage of them, they go away and they go to someone else. So there's
Oh
probably
goodness.
nothing worse than you coming up with like an idea and then all of a sudden going and seeing another artist actually have the same idea and do it.
I was like, I could
Um,
have done that.
yeah, it happened, and it's crazy to say this, but it actually happened to me. I had an idea for a New Jersey pork roll sandwich idea,
Yeah.
and it was I wanted it to be two pigs,
Mm-hmm.
like boxing.
Yeah.
And I told this to someone, and the person, as I was talking to someone about it, they're like, because they're like, "Where's your pork roll shirt?" And I was like, I have this idea. And as soon as I said it, he goes, what are you talking about? That shirt already exists. I was like, what? And he like literally pulled it up and showed it. And I'm like, how is this
Oh.
possible? I was like, so I was so upset about it. But yeah, I'm like, it happens that way sometimes. So
Goodness. And even you have like such a to me it's very niche. Very
oh yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
very niche in that sense. And yet sometimes it happens. Same thing. I had
Yeah.
another idea with I literally I've had like at least two of them where like that. I had another idea where I wanted to do a California one where instead of the bear was sitting down in a picnic. So instead
Mm-hmm.
of like the bear, California Republic, they're usually there's a bear walking.
Yeah.
Well, I saw a bear sitting down and having a picnic.
Yeah.
And I saw another clothing brand did something kind of similar-ish, for
Yeah.
because they're
Oh,
California based. And
that's such a good idea.
I was like, this is horrible. I was like, it literally was like, so then at that point, I was like, well, I'm like, I got to just jump on some of these things
Mm-hmm.
when I get the idea.
Well, then I have an idea for you. What
Give
about
it to
like
me.
a leftover Thanksgiving sandwich? You ever heard a leftover Thanksgiving sandwich
Oh, the
where you
Pilgrim.
just put the
I love all that. Have you ever been to
yeah.
Pom Poms?
Yes. Yeah.
She's got Mama Ling Ling's Thanksgiving dinner. That's like one of my all-time
Yeah.
favorite. Yeah, I love that's like my favorite thing to do. I'm gonna
Yeah.
be people are gonna it's one of those where I know it's not on brand because yes, I do leftover Thanksgiving sandwiches, but the must do is not that. The must do that my family absolutely like loves, and it's like a family
Mm-hmm.
tradition now for the last five years. It's
Yeah.
Thanksgiving egg rolls.
What?
Yes, Thanksgiving egg rolls. That's right. And it's the easiest recipe in the world.
You got to
I've
send it
actually,
to me then.
oh, I'll tell you right now, and you won't forget it. It's like the easiest thing ever. So it's literally, and I've even gone the route where I don't have turkey. I've done rotisserie chicken to do it, but
Mm-hmm.
I still make it. So the recipe is 1 cup of your chicken or your turkey, chopped up,
Mhm.
1 cup of mashed potato, 1 cup of your
Mhm.
stuffing, mix it all together. That is now the
Yeah,
filling of your egg roll. Okay.
that's
Follow
awesome.
the eggs, follow the instructions of what an egg roll, how to make an egg roll, make the egg roll, then use your leftover you fry it, do the whole thing, then use the leftover cranberry sauce and the gravy as your dipping sauces. Thanksgiving leftovers will never be the same because and the best part about it is we usually will do it. And what we usually will do, because I'm a big UCF fan and we usually play on Black Friday. So what we
Right.
would do is our leftovers, if it's an away game or something like that, our leftovers would always be those egg rolls. And then we would like deep fry them and watch football or watch Christmas movies and eat egg rolls, Thanksgiving egg rolls.
Mhm. That's amazing. That's amazing. Now I'm gonna have to like look. I don't even know how to make egg rolls, but I'm gonna figure it out
Oh,
now.
it's easy. The
Yeah.
directions are in you literally can buy like the egg roll wrappers in whatchamacallit, Publix or a supermarket, and just
Yeah.
follow the directions, try a few and then do them. But it is like one of the best. It's like it's one of those where sometimes people are like, really? Like, you're the sandwich guy. Wouldn't you give me a sandwich recipe? And I'm like, come on, everyone makes a sandwich recipe. I'm like, this
Yeah.
this this is game changer, people.
That's amazing.
So yeah, what's your definition of success currently right now? And obviously it'll probably evolve as you continue on with your business. So we'll go with
Right.
what do you think is your definition of success so far?
Um, I think like something that was big for me was just how people responded. So a lot of like just you know people walking by and be like, "This is so cool," and just something that like the overwhelming positivity that like the community has you know given me and just kind of shared with me, and just the support just from like people coming by me like, this is what I need on my gallery wall, and like like just kind of people coming by me like, I need one for all the places I've ever been, and I'm excited to like come back, and that kind of the people be like, this is like something I'm going to be coming back for. And just even seeing people, I've had a few people come back where multiple markets, they're like, all right, I need your next ones, all right, I need your next ones. And so to me, I've just felt successful with just the people being consistently interested, I guess. Like
Yeah.
it's hasn't been like a phase, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And obviously there's like financial success, but that's boring. I mean, to me, I feel like just the fact that people, it's not boring. I'm not going to say like financial success has been fantastic, but it's more around people, just they're overwhelming, just like it's really been overwhelming just how much they actually like love what I do and what I make. And to think that I just made something that a lot of people are like sharing with their family members and buying gifts for people, and wanting more of it, it makes me feel like just kind of blessed, that
Yeah.
like someone's out there like saying like, have you seen this artist? Or like people stopping by markets like, you're at the neighbors, I've seen your art at the neighbors, I have some of your stuff at home, do you have more? And like just that kind of conversation, it makes me smile for sure.
And it should.
But also, yeah, I don't know, just that right there, just I feel successful just by sharing something that I love to do with the community, and other people love it just as much. So
No, I
yeah.
totally get that. What I guess I know I asked for advice for like when you're starting like for markets and stuff like that, but what advice would you
Mhm.
give anyone? Because obviously you went, you're I would assume there's certain levels of hurdles during the 5 years that you were trying to, figure out, do I want to do this? Do I not want to do this?
Mhm.
As you would work on projects. So like what advice would you give someone now that you started? What advice would you give someone to start something or want to start something that maybe has some of those worries or concerns in the back of their head?
I think I always was worried about time, and I was also worried about myself and my burnout, because I that's something that I've always struggled with, is burnout. Kind of reoccurring burnout, like part of me just having like these ADHD tendencies, like I go through phases hardcore. If I'm interested in something, I am obsessed with it, you know, to no end. And so I was worried that like I wouldn't stay into it. So why like start this whole big thing and then, fail everybody by like backing out again, because I mentally could not handle it anymore. I wasn't interested. And so, you know, I think the big piece that I was missing all along is I wouldn't have been able to get unless I dove in, was that community, was that support, was that positivity, was, you know, like once I was in it and having others enjoy it as well, you know, that, you know, is what was the key that I, you know, was missing. So, you know, it, as cliche as it sounds, you have to take that leap, and then you'll see like just how amazing it can be, no matter what you're making, you know, to different food items, you know, that I indulge in every market I'm at, to just like, you know, just seeing others also passionate about what they do, you know, and diving all into it. Just, you know, with your stuff, I am obsessed with it, just with how down to the detail you are with your niche and your idea. You know, you took sandwiches and you made it the coolest thing possible with, you know, the deli notes down to the stapling to the bag,
Yeah.
like it's a deli sandwich. Like that's insane to me, you know? And so it's inspired me to try to dive deep into that and dive into the travel thing. Like, you know, like, I don't know, somehow incorporating plane tickets or something. And I've just been, you know,
Or
trying to think of
boarding
that kind of stuff,
passes or
or
something to
all of
that.
that.
Yeah.
Right. And just kind of having, you know, like already I have, you know, the suitcase thing,
Yeah.
which to
No,
me was just
I
kind of a
absolutely
weird
love,
obsession
no,
that
I
like,
absolutely love them. I
yeah,
love
uh,
seeing them at the markets because it adds to it because they're like, hey, I'm taking you on a journey. I mean, heck, that could even be your business cards is like a ticket or you
mhm,
know, a ticket to your
yeah,
you know, on your own airline type of thing.
right,
You know, and yeah, I think it's amazing. I absolutely
yeah,
love the creativity. I love how you've been able to do those things and kind of like how you've done and you've been inspired because I know you've done like a Halloween, some Halloween ones, and I think it's
hmm,
kind of taking you because obviously you're like on a you're you know technically on your own journey right now of you
right,
know of kind of going the route of you know how you where you started and where it'll kind of you know bend and take you. You know,
hmm,
will open up a lot of different doors and a lot of different areas for you to be able to kind of you know for you to be able to take it to. And I think that's
right,
the best part about what you've created, and the fact that you're creating it and you're able to turn around those ideas, you know, is great because you then can kind of fine tune some of those things. And sometimes, you know, the fact that you're printing them yourself, you can always fine tune a design or edit a
hmm,
design. If you're like, ooh, maybe I should have done this, I'll do a variant version of this, and
right.
stuff like that, which is always fun.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I like even just with the New York City print that I have, you know, I want to, you know, an idea I'm having right now is just like tweaking it for the holidays to add in like the Rockefeller Plaza like Christmas tree in it, you know, just to make a Christmas version of a print I already have. And so I think part of, you know, kind of keeping that burnout away too is being able to like, if I have an idea, I can act on it right there because I'm printing in house and because I'm able to do that stuff here. And even something we were just talking about was just like, I would not have some of these ideas to go, you know, way into like my style and design and just kind of presentation without, you know, seeing stuff that you do, you know. And so being
Yeah.
able to feed off of what how other business present things and how, even if it's just how they display certain stuff, it's like, oh, that would make things so much easier if I displayed it this way. And so, and then being able to get excited about, you know, changing things up and doing that based off of what other people have found successful, with their setup and stuff like that, has really just kind of helped keep me going through that, and learning from others really. So I forgot where we started, but yeah, I've really just really enjoyed, you know, being able to act on any ideas I have, and you know, really just kind of see it come up, and just, you know, and seeing where my like, you know, because yes, I'm, you know, doing a lot of travel stuff, but now I'm going, when I'm going into the holidays, you know, I'm going into movies, so traveling to different places. And I think even Bruja's Table, which you see at a lot of like pop-ups and things, like she was the one, Karina, who owns Bruja's Table, she was one who gave me the idea for putting, you know, references to certain movies and stuff. So I made a poster in collaboration with them where she like, if I had a storefront, it would be in a town of my favorite witchy movies and TV shows. And I tell people about this all the time when I have my Brujas Table or Brujas Town poster out is like, look at all the different references in there. And I'm like, it'd be really cool to just do one poster for Halloween Town. And then I did, and so just, being able to build off of that collaboration. And then now I'm going to the holidays. It's like all these ideas are whirring for all of our favorite Christmas movies and,
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So yeah.
Is out of curiosity, since we're talking about holiday movies, is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Oh, I'll totally do the Die Hard ones. Yeah, it's definitely.
Was
Yeah.
it Nakatomi Plaza?
Nakatomi Plaza, 100%. Yeah, maybe some expletives
That might
hidden in
be
the windows.
Merry Christmas. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's like one of those like yippee ki Merry Christmas.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. I seriously, I love your energy. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on. I love
I
the
appreciate
idea
it.
of how the whole concept came about, because I do love that style. I think it's a really fun way to do it. And I think the fact that you and your family want to travel or love to travel is
Mhm.
great, because then it forces you to be like, hey, I can travel and use these things as inspiration to be able to then be
Mhm.
able to have those moments and ideas. Not to mention also, even if you're thinking of like, hey, I'm thinking of going here, where are some places, and that's the beauty of it, because it
Right.
creates that conversation. Because you're
Mhm.
right, that those images, the imagery, the mental pictures are just, it's amazing, the memories. We actually just started, I have like this dry erase. Well, it's kind of like an eraser version of the places you'll go, is what it says, and it's
Mhm.
literally the United States, and we mark off. I have two of them. I actually have one.
Yeah.
I have one that we have as a family, and the goal is every time we go to a different state, I mark it. We chalkboard
Yeah.
it.
Like the scratch off ones too,
Yeah,
like
it's
how they
kind
have
of,
the scratch
yeah,
off
they
ones.
have those, and like this
Yeah.
one's like
I
literally
think I
like a
have one
chalkboard.
somewhere.
And what we started doing was we did it, and then what we did was we bought little frames, and because we take a lot of selfies and stuff like that
Yeah.
everywhere, we bought a whole bunch of frames, and basically the goal is now, I had told my wife and my daughter, I'm like, I want to go to all 50
Mhm.
states.
That'd be cool.
But I also, like, at the same time, like every time we say that, we're also like, hey, I would love, like, even though it's a great to have a family picture of us, but I'm like, I always like to have a memento. So like that's
Right.
the great thing about like what you're creating as well, because you're also creating it in so many different various sizes that you literally could create like an entire, someone could literally put an entire wall of just different one of your prints,
Mhm.
of all the different places that they've gone to,
Right.
and different styles, which I think is I know, which is the best part about it, because you can literally collect. And then the nice thing about it is, if you add a, you can be like, hey, here's a framed version of it, you just swap it out, and like you said, for
Mhm.
the New York one, you're like, swap it out and put the Christmas print in during the holidays, and then swap it out in the new year back to the
Right.
New York
Yeah.
one, and it's like a swappable art type of
Mhm.
thing. So yeah,
No,
I
I
think
love
it's
that. Yeah, like that's kind of what I was thinking of. Like if you have like Be Bright Vintage just posted where she has like a whole wall that's all this stuff she collects that are all about Florida. And so she has like my Florida print that she put up in her like style with like a vintage like kind of cloth, I think is what I'm guessing. If she, correct me if I'm wrong. But behind it where she like framed it in her own style, but then put it up there. And then I was like, oh, it'd be really cool if like you could like switch them out for different holidays, or different memories, or different parts of Florida. Like I also have like the pub sub one, which
Yep,
where
I
it's just
have.
like yeah, like if you have that pub sub poster, like people crack up at that one, and they're just like, but what if I like what don't want that? I'm like, you switch them out, like so, like I have a bunch of different Florida ones where it says Florida and then it's the castle or whatever it is, so yeah, different styles, different things. I mean, it's definitely something where I've, kept caught myself being like, oh, well, I have like five different versions of this. Maybe we need to move on to like something else. But there's always the ideas flowing, which I, love about what I do is just because I keep, I can tab those there and then I can draw it off to the side and switch stuff out. Yeah.
I love it. How can people find you? Where can they go? And, besides seeing you at a market, where can people go online and actually, check out your stuff and do some shopping?
Right. So I have a Instagram shop. I'm off of my Instagram, but it just kind of takes you to my Shopify website, which is the Doodles by Dooley.com. And then that's kind of it. If you have any questions about like commissions or just any places that I haven't made yet, you can reach out to me on Instagram. My email is just hello@thedoodlesbydooley.com. So if you want to reach out, I have multiple forms of ways that you can reach me. And I just, like I said, I love communicating and just kind of collaborating and working on different things together. So you can go through my website, which goes straight to my email. And yeah, so website, all that, and just, reach out if you have any questions.
Do you ever have you ever thought about doing a poll of like what, like, obviously Puerto Rico is one of them, but like when you have like your
Mhm.
backup ideas, and doing a poll and saying, hey, which one should I do next, and see where everyone kind of leads
Yeah.
to?
Yeah, that'd be like a great idea digitally. I used to do it at markets where I had a chalkboard that I brought with me everywhere, and I would be like, "What's your favorite city?" or "What city should I do next?" And then I have a bunch of like chalkboard markers that I would have on my table that people would write on. But because of storms and stuff, that chalkboard has hit the ground so many times it's actually broken in half. So that chalkboard's out of commission. I do need to get a new one or kind of reattach it to itself. But that's kind of how I would get like a consensus of different markets, is having people write down what their favorite city was, and it would
That's a
give me
great
ideas.
idea. Yeah, that's
So
definitely a great idea. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. So that's kind of, and I still have all my chalkboard markers with me. So I need to just kind of, it was basically just like a chalkboard easel that I would, it
Yeah.
would be folded flat, and then I would just kind of prop it up and have people write on it. So a little interactive thing, of course, the teacher with the interactive
Yeah.
part of
But
for
you know
me.
what? People love that though. People love the
Yeah,
interactive because everyone wants to be a part of it, is how I look at it.
right.
Everyone always wants to be a part of the process,
Mhm.
I feel.
Yeah. And it's
Um,
always fun to see what places mean something to someone, because everyone has like that heart home or just places that they love, which is kind of why I feel like I can connect with others as well. It's just, like if they walk by my booth and like, why Johannesburg? And I can tell them about, my husband being born there and just like how it's means something to his family and now me. And so it's really fun to have those conversations like we do, just about different places that people love. I'm like, oh, why do you want, Wyoming? And then they can just be like, oh, well, my family's really into the rodeos, and they can just tell me about
yeah.
their whole like story. And that's kind of what makes the markets fun as well, as being able to meet people and see like what, you know, what they're looking for and who they are really.
Yeah, definitely hear their stories. Do you, out of curiosity, do you have, and I apologize for not knowing this, so that's why I'm asking, is
Mhm.
on for some of the ones, like the locations that are like near and dear to you, have you thought about doing like blog posts about those locations or those prints, and like telling the
I
story behind,
haven't.
like the story behind the poster? I think people are always interested in that. I mean, obviously you could always do it on social, in the sense of like,
Hmm.
kind of like maybe even make it
Post
a
about it.
reel, like maybe make a
Yeah.
reel and kind of have the image of it, and then have you do a audio
Yeah.
voiceover of it, and be like, hey, this is the reason why, and it's like a quick minute of why or what inspired you to do it, like the thoughts behind it or the
Hmm.
reasons behind it. I think people are always interested in that type of thing, because like I would have never known about your husband, where he was from and all that stuff, because I
Right.
did notice that, and I was like, oh, I wonder why she picked that.
Yeah,
Or
just because with all my
Australia.
Florida posters and next to the Oviedo print, you see Johannesburg, and they're like,
Yeah.
"What?" It's like kind of
Yeah.
juxtaposition or juxtaposed. So yeah, so that's always fun. We feel like, wait, like, and I think every single time they don't ask it any other way. Someone will come up and be like, "Why Johannesburg?" That's all they say, and I'm just like, "Let me tell you why."
Yeah, I mean,
And it's
and I think
really
that's
fun.
always a fun. I mean, that's always a fun thing, because obviously then it's like another way of looking at you and where you travel and all that stuff.
Mhm.
But I definitely love that idea of and the branding aspect of thinking of like like a ticket or something like that as a
Yeah.
part of your a part of the thing of like what comes with it. Maybe it's
Hmm.
like your business card,
Yeah.
future
Well, because
business
when
card
I thought about
idea.
the boarding pass, this is just like a tab that opened my brain. I
Yeah.
hadn't written it down, so I'm glad you said that. Because something that I wanted to do with the plane tickets is maybe like have it as, "Hi, this print is 11 by 14 for framing purposes. Here's a little story about this print." And so basically, it's like a boarding ticket to that place, and like what's shown in the print
Hmm.
itself,
Yeah.
to just kind of be like, here's, all these different places. If you don't know what these places are, here they are. Here's a list of what you can find in this print.
Yeah.
Just because I thought about doing that for the brew house town was the first one I thought about, that, not even not as a boarding pass. I was like, I need like a paper. It says, here is the houses from Hocus Pocus. This is, here's what you can find in this one. Here's Honeydukes from Harry Potter, just so that way people are like, oh, what's all in this? And then,
Yeah. No, I think
so
that's
yeah.
great because then when they give it as a gift as well, it'll be on the back of the, even if it was like something that they can put on the back or whatever, like a, something like an insert or type of thing. But yeah, I think
Right.
that's definitely a really cool idea. I mean, that's taking it even a step further because you're
Right.
actually giving all the different landmarks and stuff, which I think is,
Yeah.
super fun to do, to
Hmm.
be able to see and stuff like that. No, I think
Yeah.
that's
And another
awesome.
one I need to write down is postcards. People ask for postcards, and I'm like, postcards would be genius. So
Postcard,
I need to write that down.
postcard, the reason I do think I love the idea of postcards is because obviously postcards are 4x6, so
Hmm.
therefore if you did
You
go,
can frame them.
yeah, you can
Yep.
frame them, it's easier to frame,
Yep.
and you can then, it's a lot easier to then be able to kind of do a bunch of different locations and stuff like that, and maybe even
Hmm.
be able to do a full set of everything like that. And
Yeah.
that'd be a cool idea. And it'd probably be a heck of a lot cheaper, and then people can buy them as sets. You could do like a
Yeah. I
full-on
actually had
Orlando
someone
set.
ask me at the last minute, like, do you do like greeting cards or like a blank card that I can like have your artwork on the front and then use them as like thank you cards or whatever? And I was like, no, but that's awesome. So like I now
Really?
I'm researching like how do I get like sets of greeting cards made, and just who's going to be the best printer. And we've talked about, using local printers and stuff like that. And so I'm lots of research going into it, but it's definitely something where I'm like, that's definitely a great idea. Like I think that's a 2023 right now because Christmas is
Yeah.
occupying my brain right now. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm definitely looking ahead, and I can see how in different ways it can grow. And so I'm excited to see what, as cliche as it sounds, what the future holds.
The future holds. Yes.
Yes.
And I absolutely love it. Thank you so much again for being on. That's our show for today. Thank you so much to Shannon
Thank
Dooley
you.
of Doodles by Dooley, for being on and having lunch with me. Definitely make sure to check her out online. If you see her at one of the markets, definitely make sure to come by and chat with her. Maybe tell her about some of your favorite places. If you don't see it, maybe, who knows, it might become a print. If you enjoyed the show, definitely make sure to subscribe, leave some stars, leave a review, show the love to it. If you want to support me, check out my brand, Deli Fresh Threads, do some shopping. Obviously, talk to me about sandwiches. I don't care if you slide into my DMs with that. Thank you. Until next time, keep eating sandwiches and follow your passion. Thank you so much, everyone.